All right, Nick. New Orleans Saints are up on the docket for today, and we have a story that I think is extremely interesting, maybe a little bit niche, but nonetheless, older Saints fans will appreciate this and they might even remember it. But it's very interesting, and we're about to get into that here in just a second. But Saints fans, football season is literally just inches away from your grasp. You're right there. The games are about to start. But we've got to know before the games start, what team are you the most excited about getting the chance to play this season? You know, is it a divisional rival? You got Falcons, got the Panthers, got the Bucks. You think you're going to beat down the Bucks this year? Or is it another team that you don't normally play so much? Leave us a comment in the comments below. Who are you the most excited about playing this season? But Nick, hit us with this story because I'm really interested to talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, so NOLA.com had a really interesting piece about this, talking about new Saints head coach Dennis Allen and his new play caller is none other than Pete Carmichael Jr. Now, Carmichael Jr., as Saints fans likely know, has been the offensive coordinator for a number of years for the New Orleans Saints, backing up 16 years all the way back to 2006 when he was a quarterback's coach before taking over the offensive coordinator role in 2009. By the way, Mice, that makes it old Saints fans, just 2006, 2009. I mean, that's... Geez, dating ourselves here a little bit. Oh, man. But anyway, so here's the real interesting thing. So Carmichael's always been the quiet guy behind the scenes, right? Obviously, Sean Payton got the glory and things like that. But Sean Payton actually really alluded to Carmichael's genius here. And this is according to NOLA.com. This is Payton talking about Carmichael. Quote, he's a real low-key but extremely smart. There's a handful of people you miss, and he would be one of them. Peyton talking about just retired. He was just someone that just endeared himself to the staff and the people around him. Anyone who worked with him, like if you called 100 people, you wouldn't find a negative word. And it's not just his mentality, it's his play calling natural ability. Obviously, Peyton was the number one play caller for a number of years, but NOLA.com backed it up to October 23rd, 2011. Sean Payton had a knee injury or an ankle injury, couldn't call plays from the sideline. So he handed off his duties for the New Orleans Saints play caller, who were playing the Indianapolis Colts, to Carmichael. The Saints beat the Colts that day, 62-7. In his very first game calling plays for the New Orleans Saints, this dude brought up 62 points against an NFL team. That is unreal. He would score 34 points. The Saints offense under Carmichael would score 34 points in the first half and 28 in the second. The Saints would actually go on the rest of the year, have a really prolific offense. I think you've got some more details on that. But how about this, Miles? We've been talking about the Saints and all their additions. Olave, Landry, Thomas is back. Winston could be healthy. How about this guy, Pete Carmichael Jr.? Is this kind of like the sneaky genius lurking behind the scenes that's going to be like maybe the biggest impact of all for the Saints this year?
Yeah, it reminds me of like the Saints version of like Mike McDaniel or something like that. But you know, this guy, it's probably like you said, a lot of people may not know who he is. He lurks behind the shadows, as Peyton says. But when we go back and look on that prolific 2011 season, okay, that year, which I think you said that maybe he called plays for like a handful, like 5-6 games that season. But that year, Drew Brees threw for 5,400 yards, 46 touchdowns, and only 14 interceptions. He had a huge year, graded a 93 overall, a 92.4 passing grade. Obviously, it's Drew Brees, so his rushing grade wasn't really that great, but it was a 60, which isn't too bad for a guy like Drew Brees. But he had an absolutely incredible year, ranked first in the NFL in passing yardage, first in the NFL in passing touchdowns. Just overall, had probably one of the best seasons of his life. And this guy, in all regards, was a big part of that. So, you know, this guy has a little bit of magic in him. And I think for a guy like Jameis Winston, that's what you need. And it seems like he is all about, you know, putting up big numbers, which, whether we like to believe it or not, Jameis Winston is very capable of putting up big numbers.
Sure.
He threw for a ton of touchdowns, but also coupled it with interceptions. So if he could manage to back down on the mistakes, which I read a few articles talking about how Sean Payton really instilled this into Jameis, that Jameis would always try to be the hero. He'd always try to make the long ball throw down the field. He wouldn't hit his checkdowns, and that was one of his biggest flaws that historic Tampa Bay season that he was playing in. And Peyton really beat into him like, hey, you don't always have to be the hero because, look, it doesn't always pan out. Hit your checkdowns, you know, be smarter with the football. be a little bit cleaner with the football, and it's going to pay dividends. So with all of this good buzz, I think this is really going to be a big season for Jameis Winston.
Well, especially when you look at the fact that Carmichael, he's not like he just only showed up and called plays and then Peyton never was involved or he was never involved in anywhere after that and Peyton took control. People forget when you have a head coach like Peyton, even though he's involved in the offense, he's got other stuff going on. The head coach, you've got administrative duties, you got team meetings, you got to go out in public and do all that kind of stuff. The guy who's running and installing the day-to-day things, and this is the way when I played in college, I had a head coach that was very offensive minded. He was only in about 1 out of every 3 or 4 offensive meetings when it comes to the installs and the game plans. He was involved in a very high level. And the nitty gritty, the offensive coordinator, he was the guy kind of boots on the ground, walking through it with the players. So you better believe Carmichael has that relationship with these players all across the board. And the fact that he's been there so long and has a good resume of success, there's a lot of buy-in. So all those lessons you look at, like maybe Sean Payton imparted on Jameis Winston, those same kind of lessons are going to be coming from Carmichael and are going to be really built into the Saints offense all the way through. And like you said, this has a chance to be a really explosive season for the Saints offense.
All right, Nick, it's time to get your internet privacy back today on every device you own in any country you want. Don't let anyone but you control your internet. NordVPN keeps you safe from prying eyes wherever you go online with their military-grade encryption. Is your favorite Netflix or streaming content blocked in the US? You can simply connect to one of the many countries available with NordVPN and get the access you need.
That's right, Maya. So right now, get our exclusive NordVPN deal here at nordvpn.com/SMI. It's risk-free now with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, get that exclusive deal, nordvpn.com/SMI.